Class.
Yes.
Today is lesson 313. What is it?
313.
So, yesterday you guys told me that you thought the bar graphs were super easy. That we cleared our desks. We're ready to move on from math. And all of us are being proactive learners so that we can get through it quickly and still have time for another brain break. Right?
7 million more.
So you are in charge of how much you're learning during this time. Today is a little bit tougher than bar graphs because you don't use them as often. But it's using frequency tables and line plots. What are the two things?
Frequency table and line plots.
They still make it a lot easier to answer the questions just because they're displaying our data in an organized way, but they're not quite as familiar. So let me show you first our frequency tables that we've got going on here. Actually, they also showed us a tally chart. So let's look at this very first part here. This first one here is a tally chart. What is that called?
Tally chart.
So whenever we have a tally chart, they organize our information, and instead of putting like how much of something, they literally tally it. So if I asked you how many friends were 9 years old, you could tell me 5 friends, right? And everybody knows that when we make our tallies, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth one you have to
I thought it went
go
4 or
across, right?
5.
It helps us so that
3.
if I had this many tallies, instead of counting all of the lines, what can you count by?
5.
5. It makes them really speedy. So who can tell me when I drop my hands how many tallies that would be?
20.
When I drop my hands. When I drop my hands, how many tallies would that be?
15.
And there's no way any of you guys counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I did.
You just knew because of the slash, they're in groups of 5. So you could go 5, 10, 15, right? It makes counting on tallies pretty fast. So we won't use tally charts a whole lot, but if you ever do, that's what it looks like. Very similar to a tally chart is a frequency table. What do we call this?
Frequency table.
Oh, that wasn't very convincing. It's called a frequency table. What's it called?
Frequency table. Frequency table.
All that a frequency table does is it gives us the same information, but instead of tallies, it tells us the amount in regular number form. So again, if I asked you how many students were 9 years old, you would tell me 5. And it just shows us like that. Questions about tally charts or frequency tables? Savannah?
Why is it like the 9 would be 5?
So they have those headings here, right? That this side is the age and this side is
But
the
why
amount.
does it say tally when there's no tally?
That's a good question because the tally, when you're referring to a tally of something, you're referring to like an ongoing count. Kind of like we do our teacher versus students. It's an ongoing count throughout the day, right? That you can keep adding to, or you've counted it up and you're showing that amount in there. Riley?
All the tally charts, will there any be like 15 tallies?
It could. They're probably not going to do that to us because they're not going to want to make us draw that much in the tiny spaces, right? But it's absolutely possible to have that high of a number in it. Savannah?
Yeah, but why does the 11 have 2 tallies?
So they're saying that the students that are age 11, how many students are age 11?
2.
2. So this side is how old people are, and this side is how many people are that old. Good questions. Those are smart, clarifying questions. Those are our tally and frequency charts. They're very, very similar. The next type of tables that we're doing today are line plots. What are these?
Line plots.
You guys have seen these on Prodigy quite a bit because sometimes it's a little tricky for dragging the dot into the line plot.
Yes.
We used line plots for something else. I'm trying to remember when. But you did it for one of our lessons, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was science and then we connected it to Prodigy.
Yeah, we can play in Prodigy.
Right. Line plots are just like line charts.
Oh, desks. I mean chairs.
Line plots, I'm picky on, just like our pictographs, or pictographs, excuse me. Does anybody remember the two things that I'm looking for on our pictograph? They should all be the same size, and they should be neat and
Pretty. Nice.
say that again, Riley. Organized. They should be neat and organized. If our dots aren't the same size or neat and organized, like let's say I recreated this and I had my first one was 1 and my second one was 3 and my third one was 5 and they're all different sizes.
Pretty.
And so then like this one is 4
7.
and this one is 2. So if you ask me which one had the most on this, it looks like these have the same amount, right?
Yep.
Because I didn't make them the same size.
Yeah.
And they weren't spaced out the same. But when you look, when they're all the same size and they're all neat and organized, if I ask you, which age had the most players, you could answer that really quickly, right? Which age had the most,
10.
Rylan?
9.
9, because it's the tallest. How many players were 9 years old? Count with me. 1.
10. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good. How many players on their basketball team were 7, Savannah? 1 player was 7 years old. How many players were 10 or 11? Braylon? 6, because she counted both of these together. How many players were younger than 9? Oh, if they're younger than 9, they're not 9, 10, or 11. Oh, GTA? Macy, how many were younger than 9? 4, good, because 7 and 8 is younger than 9. Sweet, you guys understand these. We're ready for Activity 2.
Activity 2.
For Activity 2, we are actually going to do a little measuring activity. So please, pull out your ruler.
My name tag is.
I'll give you a couple more seconds to get that out. And
9,
you're just going to
18,
lay it
11.
flat on your desk in front of you with the fatter inches side up, right? So it means that the numbers that are close together are centimeters, the numbers that are further apart are inches, just like we learned way back when.
You got a yardstick.
I do. Yep. Alright. Class.
Yes.
These directions say, measure the length of hand spans of 10 classmates to the nearest half inch. Well, I don't think that's as fun as measuring everybody's. So here's what you're going to do. First, pause your rulers. They should be laying on your desk. Because you need to listen to directions first. Gunnar, there's absolutely zero reason for you to have a paper out on your desk right now, so go put it away and we'll wait. Okay. When it says hand span, what it means by that is when you have your hand up and your fingers are stretched out. Pinky to thumb. What are you measuring?
Pinky to thumb.
So you would have to line that up with a 0 on a ruler. I would line, personally, if you're right-handed, I would measure your left hand so that you can hold it and mark with your right hand. If you're left-handed, I would measure your right hand so that you can mark it with the hand that you write with. Papish? So let me show you first. Focus, focus.
Mine's
my.
7.
Oh, third graders, I have a lot of blurting and people who are messing around with their ruler instead of looking up here. Well, wait.
Oh no, mine's 7. I already know. Mine's 3. Mine's 8.
I'm still waiting for those sidebars to stop. Which is a bummer because we were ready to rock and roll on this. Okay. Focus, focus.
Everybody focus.
I would put your pinky at the 0 and measure how far you can stretch your hand to get your thumb. Now we're going to the nearest half inch. So if it's like 5 1/4, you would have to look and say, is it closer to 5 1/2 or is it closer to 5? My hand span is closest to 9 inches. When you, obviously my hands are a lot bigger than your guys's, right? So I'm going to record mine by just writing that on my desk space, 9 inches. You will either be like 4 inches, 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, 6, 6 1/2. But
6 1/2.
here's what's going to happen. Class. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to silently measure your hand span and write it on your desk. What am I going to give you time to do, Rylan?
Measure hand span and write on your desk.
And how are you going to do it?
Quickly. 6.
All right, Landon, what are we going to do?
We're gonna measure our hand and be silent and write the measurement.
Perfect. Okay, 30 seconds of silence starts now. Online friends, I'm going to record our classroom data for you. And I'll put it in a table so that you can use this data and you can add yours to it. And that's what you're going to record for your charts today. Okay? Alrighty. Focus. Was anybody's hand smaller than 5 inches? Hand span smaller? Jade, what was your hand span?
Like this is 3, but like this is
4 inches? Was anybody smaller than 4 inches? Okay, that's going to be my smallest that I put on our chart then, just because we only have so many rows. And so we're going to go 4 inches. What would be the next half inch up?
4 1/2.
4 1/2 inches. What would be the next half inch up?
5 inches.
5 inches. What's next?
5 1/2.
5 1/2 inches.
6.
6 inches.
6
6 1/2. Was anybody bigger than 6 1/2 inches? Oh, wow. What were you, Ellie?
8 inches.
Really? Holy cannoli. Emerson?
7 1/2.
7 1/2. Rylan?
No. 8 inches.
8. Keegan?
7.
Okay, so was anybody bigger than 8? Perhaps not, right? Because my hand was only 9 and my hands are much larger than your guys'. So we'll go all the way up to that. 7 inches. 7 1/2.
Ellie's lying.
Oh, class.
Yes.
So to make it so that we can get this data recorded, I'm going to have you stand up if your hand measured this width. Capiche? Stand up if your hand was 4 inches wide, your hand span. So I'm going to put 1 tally for Jade. Stand up if your hand was 4 1/2 inches wide. Stand up if your hand was 5 inches wide. So if it's Macy and Braylon, how many tallies do I need?
2.
Stand up if your hand width was 5 1/2 inches. 6 inches. Hadley and Riley, how many tallies do I need? 2. 6 1/2 inches. Skylar, Savannah, Olivia, Hendricks, and River, how many tallies would that be? 5. So tally with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Were you guys 6 1/2 or 7?
6 1/2.
Okay. How many of you had a hand span of 7 inches? 1, 2, 3,
Dax, you did not.
4, 5, 6. I might have to check some of your guys' measuring skills.
Yay.
7 1/2 inches. Emerson, 8 inches.
What?
Ellie and Rylan.
I'm not surprised for Ellie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm super surprised.
So, class.
Yes.
I created a tally chart. To make this easier, we're only going to transfer over the amounts that had amounts. So we're going to get rid of 4 1/2 and 5 1/2 because nobody had that hand width. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
just so we can fit it in, because you guys have quite the span. So I'm going to put over here 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 6.5 inches, 7 inches. Oh, there's some sidebars. There's some sidebars. 7.5 inches and 8 inches. So that's going to be our whole frequency table. Now this is where I need your help. Based on the information from our tally chart, we are going to transfer it over. So like, I know that there were 6 friends whose hand span was 7 inches. So on the frequency table, I would just write the number 6 instead of 6 tallies. Right? Because in frequency tables, we just use numbers. What do?
Numbers.
Please pull out your marker. Oh, that was not convincing. Pull out your marker.
Pull out your marker. Pull out your marker. Pull out your marker.
I'm going to be calling some speedy mathematicians to come up and fill in the number on our frequency table. So who can fill in how many students had a hand width of 4 inches? Gunnar, come on up. Who would like to fill in how many students had the hand width of 5 inches? Ellie, come on up. Who would like to fill in how many students had the hand width of 6 inches? Maddie, come on up.
Who was filling in 5?
Who would like to fill in how many students had a hand width of 6.5 inches? Riley. 7.5 inches. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but here's my data for 7.5 inches, Savannah. Or that's 7 inches actually, Riley.
Oh.
7.5 is down here, Savannah. Oh, for 6.5 inches was somebody else, I think. Who filled in 6.5 inches? I think we got off. So Ellie, if you were filling in for 5 inches, then you would write your data next to 5 inches, right? Sorry guys, I wasn't paying attention to which lines you were getting it on. So Ellie filled in 5 inches. Who did my 6-inch data? Who did 6.5 inches?
Riley.
So Riley, 6.5 inches was, yep. 7 inches I did. 7.5 inches, Savannah. And 8 inches, Jade. Oh, is it dead? Go ahead and borrow one of mine. So here's what I need you to do at your desks. Are you listening?
Yes, we are.
At your desk.
You don't do that. You write just 2.
At your desk, you are going to create a line plot based on this data, and I want to show you how to do that. Okay? So everybody needs their marker out, and we're going to transfer this data into a line plot. It starts like this. And you can use your ruler if you'd like to make it nice and straight, but you don't need to. You're just going to draw a line going horizontal, just like you do for your number lines. Just a horizontal line. And then we need to figure out how many plot spots are we making. And that would just be how many pieces of data are we plugging in. So go ahead and count with me, guys. 1,
2, 3, 7, 5, 6, 7.
and since we deleted a couple, let's go ahead and add those. 8, 9. So you want to have 9 vertical hashes going down your number line. So I would go just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you're like me and ran out of space, just extend your line and keep that spacing.
I had a lot more.
So how many vertical hashes do you need?
9.
9. Go ahead and get that on your desk.
Why is
9 hashes. Oh no, toss them. Do you have an extra one in your desk?
I don't know.
I'll get you one here. So toss those ones so we don't get them mixed up, and I'll put a fresh one on your desk. You can keep it. After you have your 9 hashes, we do need to label those. So if this is a line plot, and we're going to put our dots on the top side, where do we have to put our measurements at? Braylon? On the bottom side. So we're going to go ahead and start with 4. And instead of writing inches in all these tiny spaces, we can just put inches, the word, down below. That way we only have to fit our numbers in these tiny spots, right? So you'll go ahead and you'll do your 4. 4.5. What comes next? 5. 5.5. Then we're going to do 6. What comes after 6?
6.5.
6.5. I'm looking for someone other than Emerson to help me with my next one.
7.
6.5. What comes after 6.5? Rylan.
7.
7. Then what, Landon? 6. 6.5. 7.
8. 7.5.
Before 8, I gotta squeeze in 7.5. Very good. And my last one, everybody, is
8.
so this is the part where I'm gonna get picky, okay? As you plug in your plots for this line plot, this is where I'm going to be really picky that all of your little dots should be the same size and they need to be nice and neat. What do they need to be?
Nice and neat.
That means they're spaced out evenly, they're going in a nice straight line right above it, and you can tell easily that they're lining up almost like an array, except for they're not equal rows, right? So I'm going to give you guys some time to fill in your line plot, okay? And I'm going to come around and peek and see if you're making them the same sizes and nice and neat. Hadley, we don't need extra boxes because we're completing a line plot, right? So you guys may get started on filling in your plots. Online friends, it's going to be a little bit different for you. I'm going to put this line plot on your slides, and you will fill in the numbers, and then you can drag and drop or copy and paste dots into your line plot, okay? Good luck. Okay, this is homework and remembering 3-13. The entire homework side is going to need to be completed at home. And the reason for that is that you have to measure the lengths of 12 shoes at your home. And so you're going to have to pick either 12 pairs of your shoes, or it would be way more fun, honestly, if you grab different family members' shoes and measure them. So please write, please write at the top here, don't forget,
What about doggy?
due Monday. When is this due?
Monday.
If you're seeing a whole bunch of family members over the holidays, you can totally measure all the extra shoes that are piled up at the door when you're having your turkey day. Just so all you know is you would just need this sheet and a ruler, right? And you would only have to do one chunk of this. Really, if you filled out one chart over this long weekend, you've got 5 days, you can come back and finish the other charts when you get back Monday morning. Because you know this will be Viking time stuff that you can finish up at Viking time. Does that sound fair? So you really only have to complete one of the charts over this 5-day weekend. And then by the time that you come back Monday morning, you will know that we have Monday's Viking time to finish this up. I see some hands, so I'll listen to those questions. Savannah?
What if you don't have a ruler right now?
If you don't have a ruler at your house, the Monday morning, I will give you a pre-filled tally chart, and then you can complete the rest. Okay? Rylan? I bet mom or dad has a tape measure at home that they can help you with. Yep.
My mom and my dad.
Dax, would you stand at the door for me so we
My
can...
mom and dad said my mom and dad always makes me do the whole front and back.
Yep, so if you circle one, you can totally do the whole front at home, and then you don't have to do it during Viking time. But I'm just saying, if you guys know you're really busy, I'm only asking you to complete one thing to measure 12 shoes and write down those measurements. And then you'll be able to complete it Monday morning. Hendrix?
If your dog has shoes, can you measure?
Oh, you bet. Yep, you bet. Braylon?
Doggy shoes. Flippers. My dog wears.
Oh, hocus pocus.
My dog wears skirts.
We'll try again. Hocus pocus.
My dog wears skirts. Everybody focus.
Braylon, what was your question? Absolutely. If you want to complete the whole thing at home, you can. I'm just saying, if you don't quite have enough time, you know that I'll give you some Viking time on Monday. Capiche?
Can you do the
Please turn your page.
Do you have to do
Please turn your page.
Turn
Please
your
turn
page.
your page.
Turn your page. Turn your page. We need to review some because it's been a minute since we've had these two-step equations. So, remember, whenever you see multiple operations, you need to remember, please excuse.
my dear
You might want to jot that down just in case your brain is spacing out on you today. Parentheses would always happen first. That means that for problems like number 1, first I would say 3 times 0 is 0, because everything times 0 is 0. And then I would think that plus 9 equals
9. 0. 9.
plus, plus, plus.
Wait, how did what?
3 times 0 equals 0. 0 plus 9. So if I have 0 and I get 9 more, I would end up with 9. Yep. Then there are 3. Holy cannolis, 3rd grade. I have to give myself a point because there's a lot of sidebars. What do you say? That tied me up with you. There are 3 problems that are just asking you questions about the bar graphs. That's the part you guys told me was easy peasy from yesterday. That won't take you long at all. Do read them carefully though, because sometimes they word it a little tricky. So like, how many more cans did 3rd grade collect than 2nd? You might do comparison bars, right? Since it's more than. How many fewer cans did 2nd grade collect than 1st grade? Fewer than, you might want to do comparison bars again. And then it says about how many more cans would 4th grade have to collect to have the same number as the 5th grade. Since it's about, you could estimate, or you could tell me the exact amount, because you can do that with these, because if it's halfway between and they're counting by hundreds, what's half of 100?
50.
50, so you'll know that one.
It said the grade with the most cans.
Then the last one, the stretch your thinking, it doesn't feel as much of stretch your thinking as usual. This one says, you need to find how many people drew a picture in less than 12 minutes. And then they ask, which data display is easier to use to find the answer? Explain. So they want to know, if you have to tell people how many people drew the picture in less than 12 minutes, which chart or data display is easier to figure that information out from? This table, this frequency table, or this pictograph? And you don't need to answer it now, but you might circle the one and then tell me blank is easier because da 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 da. Would you guys like to see that sentence stem?
Yeah.
So you're either going to write the frequency table or the pictograph is easier
Can you spell the
because dun 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 dun. This one is a pictograph.
We can't see graph.
I'll zoom out for you guys. And this one is your frequency table. So I will leave that up for you as you do your homework. Online friends, just like normal, you will do these in your slides. My 3rd graders here, you still have plenty of time today. You guys did an awesome job focusing for math. And that science quiz, you did a great job. So I want to start you off with another point. What do you say?
Oh yeah.
Skylar, would you put that up for me? And then you have so much time that I'm very confident you will finish remembering here at school. If you would like to measure students' tennis shoes in the classroom because you have time so that you don't have any homework over break, you could,
Well, what if-
or
Mine is 5 inches.
or you could choose to hop on Prodigy because I want you to get some time practicing. Capiche? Good luck, guys.